Hi everyone, and you are welcome to Methods Resolution Order lecture. Let's start this lecture by a quick question. Assume that you have single inheritance relationship between two classes. And also, let's assume that in both of these classes, we have a method which has the following name, common method. So I have a method, its name common method in the parent class, and in the child class also I have a method, its name common method. The question now, what will happen when an object from the child class call this method? Which one will be called? The one that's inside the child class or in the parent class? So if you are confused or if you don't know the answer of this question, join me in this lecture to understand what will happen. In this lecture, we will learn about a new concept which is methods overriding. Then we will see the syntax of this concept. And once we understand what methods overriding is, we will start talking about methods resolution order and we will define this concept in details. And finally, I'll end up this lecture by a quick summary. So let's get started. So, what's methods overriding? Simply, methods overriding is the ability of the child class to provide a specific and a new implementation of a method that's already provided by one of its parent classes. To understand the idea of methods overriding, let me move directly to the syntax in order to see how it's a simple concept. So first of all, assume that you have a parent class, its name parent class name, and it has a method, its name common method. And also let's assume that we have another class which is child class name and it inherits the parent class name. And within this class also we have another method, its name common method. So when we have a method which has the same name like the one available in the parent class, we call this method overriding. Now let's move to Jupyter Notebook to see how I can implement in real example methods overriding, and when I call this method from an object of the child class, which one will be called? Let's see. To understand the idea of methods overriding, let's implement some classes first. I'll paste this class, which we are already familiar with in this course. It's employee class, in which I have one class attribute, I have 3 instance attributes, and I have one instance method, its name apply raise. And this method actually will increase the salary of this employee according to the raise amount that's specified in this class attribute. Now let's inherit this class, which is employee, by another class which is named developer. So it's single inheritance relationship. It will take all the instance attributes that the previous class needs in addition to a list of programming languages that this developer knows. Alright, now let's define an object from this developer class. So I'll say I have a developer and this developer class needs 4 instance attributes which are the name. So let's say the name John Doe and the salary, let's say it's 5,000 and the programming language that he knows, let's say Python. Now let me print this developer salary before and after applying the raise. So I'll say dev.salary, then I will apply raise, then I'll print the salary again and finally I'll print just a dummy line. Let me run now. You will see that, no need to print here because actually just function call. So you will see that the salary before it's 5,000, which is the original salary. And after I call this method, I got the salary of 5,250. Okay, so look here, when I call this method apply raise for this developer object, we see that developer class has no method with the name apply raise. So I don't get any error because developer class inherit employee class and this class has this method. So for this reason, I'm able to call this method here because this method is inherited from the employee class. Alright, now let's do exactly the same thing right now. So I will take this copy and paste and let's see now what will happen with method overriding. So what I mean by overriding here, let me say now that when I want to apply raise for developer, I want to define a different function from the one available in the parent class. So all what I have to do is just taking this function from here and redefine it here. And let's say I want to redefine it in the following way. I want to apply the same raise amount plus 1,000. So in this case now, the developer class has its own method of apply raise. Now let's run and see what we will get. We will get right now 5,000, the original salary, and 6,250, the salary after we applied the raise. So you will note that in this case, when the method has been overridden here, when I call this method, the methods that available inside the class that this object belongs to has been called. For this reason, we say we override this method. And the method that's available inside the parent class will not be called anymore. So why this behavior happens, let's see together in the slides. Now, and after we have understood what methods overriding is, in context of single inheritance relationship, let's ask a broader question. What happens usually when an object calls a method? Assuming that we have single inheritance relationship. First of all, the interpreter will look for this method inside the child class. And if it's found there, the interpreter will call this method. But if the method is not there in the child class, the interpreter will look for this method inside the parent class. And if it's found there, this method will be called. Otherwise, if this method is not in the parent class, the interpreter will look for this method inside the object class. And if you ask me what's object class, let me tell you that in Python, all classes by default inherit from this class implicitly, even if you don't explicitly inherit this class. And let me tell you that this order of looking for the methods that should be called is known as method resolution order. So if I want to give a formal definition now to methods resolution order, so I'll say that in Python, methods resolution order defines the search order for the required method implementation when this method is called by an object. And that's simply what methods resolution order is. Now let's recap what we have learned in this lecture. First of all, methods overriding concept has been defined, and we see it's just the ability of the child class to provide a new implementation of a method that's already provided by one of its parent classes. Next, we see the syntax of these methods overriding, and we see simply that we have the same method name available in both the parent class and the child class name. At the end, we have talked about methods resolution order, and we see that this order defines the search order for the required method implementation when this method is called by an object, which means this order will determine which method should be called from the child, parent, or the object class. Now please, I need you to refer to the challenges available in the lecture resources in order to practice what you have learned so far. Thank you so much for your time, and if you are available, join me in the next lecture.